we all have busy lives. You cannot operate at 100% of the time.
No.
Something breaks or gives up at some point. So in work, I really want people to be the best they can be, but with a reasonable framework of what we can expect. You can't become a solicitor without a law degree.
No.
That's not me saying that.
That's fact.
That is fact. But that doesn't mean you can't be whatever you want to be.
Yeah.
Aside from, if you have to have a formal qualification, fine, you have to go down that route. But if you haven't got the academic background to support a law degree or maybe even funding to do that, I genuinely don't think it should prevent you from being the best version of you. I say to people now, a CV matters because it is the first showing of you. So it's important to get it, but I don't care if someone went to Cambridge or went to Northampton University. When people go to a law firm, they expect people to know the law. I think that's a fair assumption. What they don't perhaps expect is really good service or really good client care or really good, let's say, empathy. A lot of our business is around empathy. I do the same with CVs, I think. If they've got their degree, fine. I don't care where they got it. I don't particularly care whether it's a first or a 2-1.
Welcome to Talent Unboxed. In this episode, I'm meeting Danny Roberts. Now, he has a fantastic journey from going from office junior right the way through to managing partner at a leading law firm. Now, what's really different about Danny is he is not a qualified lawyer. So the fact that he's running a legal business shows that he's had a really interesting and helpful journey in terms of some of the stuff that he can share with the listeners today. So I'm looking forward to sharing this with you. Don't forget to subscribe and make sure you get alerted for the future episodes. So Danny, thank you. Welcome to Talent Unboxed, a podcast we've created recently to help businesses and candidates make the best out of the talent market.
No, thanks for having me. Yeah,
I'm really delighted that you've agreed to join. And your story for me is quite interesting, which is why I was keen to have you on. But do you, just for everyone listening, do you want to kind of introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are and what you do?
Sure. My name's Danny Roberts. I'm managing partner at DFA Law in Northampton. We are a full service law firm, as we call ourselves. Probably touching on most areas of law, just not doing criminal law, really. We currently employ around 50 people. The firm itself has been around a long, long time, 188 years. So we kind of look at ourselves as the custodians of DFA Law for the time being, and hopefully keep it going and keep recruiting.
Keep recruiting, yeah, exactly. What I really like about this story with you is you're not actually a trained solicitor, are you?
No.
But you're running a law practice.
Yeah.
Which, for me, sounds bonkers. And I'm sure there's just...
it probably sounds bonkers to some of the other partners as well.
Yeah, well, this is it. But tell me a bit more about that, because it is rare, right? I'm not imagining that. I
think in a firm of our size, it's rare. The big city firms, they will typically be run by business people as opposed to lawyers. I'm very much of the opinion that lawyers are trained to do law. That is where their talent lies. Doesn't mean you can't do other things, but really that should be their focus. And the way we structure our business is that the heads of departments run their team. I don't want the heads of departments working 100% on client matters. I want them to be developing the team, developing themselves, helping people, do their job. Because as a head of department in law, there's a lot of targets, a lot of financial metrics that we use to say, are we performing? I don't like the idea of the figurehead being the main and only earner. I want it to be more of a team basis.
Okay. So I obviously went through, did some research on some of this stuff, and I found out that in 1996 you were an office junior.
Yeah.
And then you've ended up as managing partner of 180-year-old law firm. What does the journey actually look like? Talk me through that, if you don't mind.
No, sure. So when I did my A-levels, my parents decided they were going to emigrate to Australia. So that was 1995. My mother went originally, and then my dad followed with me. My brother couldn't come because his girlfriend was pregnant, so he stayed. But it was going to be a family move, and then we went the end of 1995. And in truth, Chris, I never really wanted to be in Australia. I wouldn't say I had
Well, you just didn't like it, or?
It wasn't I didn't
Homesick?
like it, because there was homesickness, which might sound strange, bearing in mind my parents had moved. But by the age of 18, you start, and life was different then. Like, there was no mobile phones, there was no...
Yeah.
Life was social, so you kept in touch in person as opposed to a message or a WhatsApp or whatever it might be.
Meeting in the pub or meeting...
Yeah, and I played golf, and I played to a half-decent standard, and I made a lot of good friends through that. So I just wanted to come back. So I got a job in Australia, quite a well-paid job, as it turned out, and I'll tell you how much I earned as an office junior in a moment. And really, I just wanted to come back. So I think it was around August time. So I was there for 8-9 months. I'd saved enough money to get my own flight and told my parents I was moving back. Now, I had nowhere to live. So I stayed with my nan and granddad for a while. They had a 2-bedroom flat in Dustin. But I missed what I had here. And that sounds a bit silly saying it today because I didn't have anything, but just the core of the social life and the friends and things like that.
But I think, just before you move on that, I think that a lot of people, when they think about traveling and moving away, and, because we'd thought about it many years ago, that's the bit that probably people underestimate, don't they? I think when it comes to moving towns, or not even as drastic as moving to a whole other side of the world, but the social thing is really important, isn't it?
Yeah, because I think everything is. If I look at life, it's about who is around you, and that could be your family. If you've got a family, perfect. And my life now is very much around my 2 boys. But at that point, 18, footloose, fancy free, it was about enjoying my life how I wanted to enjoy it, which was with the friends. I'd always played sport, so there was football, cricket, golf. There was lots of different friendship groups, and I missed that in Australia. It didn't help that I didn't really want to go in the first place, because I could argue I didn't probably give it the right chance. Now my dad still lives in Australia,
right.
So he's been there 30 odd years now, and it's a great place. And maybe because I didn't apply myself to it fully, I never really gave it the right chance. But equally, I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't go back and say, well, I wish I'd stayed, or
no.
I wouldn't have met my wife, I wouldn't have had my kids. So there's lots of little sliding doors moments almost that. So when I came back, I didn't have a job, and I came back in the summer and started applying for jobs. Doing, just prior to going to Australia, I'd finished my A-levels. I'd worked in Fachenda chicken, taking chickens off a rotisserie and folding the legs in the backside and legs in the neck. I'd worked in a sausage factory. That sounds awful. So it wasn't that I was shy of work. I just really struggled to get a job. So I'd actually applied to an office junior role at Turner Coulston, as the law firm was called then, and didn't get the job. And then I decided, right, I'm going to have to go back to Australia. So this was October, November time. And I then got a phone call, or my nan received a phone call out of the blue. I wasn't living with my nan at that point, saying that they'd employed someone. It hadn't worked out. Would I still be interested? So I think I just went to visit my nan, because, again, no mobile phones. It was very much person to person. Went in and interviewed for the role, and I'd actually booked a flight back to Australia. So I said, I would like to take the job. I need to know in the next 3, I think I had 3 days. So So I took the job there and started as an office junior at Turner Coulston, and my first salary was £5,000 a year. Which, when you don't have anywhere to live,
when was that?
Money, when?
Yeah,
1990. I started there in
November.
November.
96.
Yeah, I started there November the 12th, November 13th, 1996. So 30 years in law this autumn. Yeah.
It's weird going back then, because I remember I left school in 96. Went to college for 6 weeks. Hated every minute of it. Left because I'd worked in between school and college. I got the appetite to earn money.
Absolutely.
I then went in and found a job that was paying me something like 10 grand a year.
So you were twice as good as me.
In a salary wise, you could say that. However, I remember that job got made redundant, and I ended up taking another job on that was way less, more like what you were paying. But if you think to back then, that was what, 400 quid a month.
Yeah. I think it was £408 a month now.
Yeah. You can't even survive on.
No.
Like, people aren't surviving on 400 quid a week now. So the difference in that period of time is massive, isn't it?
Yeah. And look, I don't know what £5,000 translated up with inflation. It's probably around £15,000 maximum now. Minimum wage for a 40-hour week is around 25 grand now. So the starting point for today is a lot better than what it was then. Yeah. And that's not a bad thing.
But was that an apprenticeship or something? Or was it just a junior
purely an
role?
office junior role. I was going to the bakery at Giles's Street, Lawrence's Bakery, to get sausage rolls quite often for more senior people. Yeah. Doing post runs.
Dry cleaning.
I did do some dry cleaning, yeah. I didn't drive at that time, so I didn't have to go and fill people's cars with fuel, but it was, anything really. It was a foot in the, I saw it as a foot in the door. Yeah. I didn't really have any grand visions of what it might lead to. Going back to what I just said, I didn't want to go back to Australia, so I needed a job. So I was good. I did okay in A-levels. I was good at maths, things like that. So, I had some acumen in that regard. And I was actually made redundant from that office junior role the following summer. Oh. And then there was a change of so this is how it happened. I was made redundant, but then the accounts manager of that firm resigned and took a job at Carlsberg, which meant that the accounts assistant got a promotion to accounts manager. They therefore needed an accounts assistant. And because of, I suppose, I'd showed some decent promise in the previous 7 or 8 months, so they offered me a role as accounts assistant. Now, if I look at that moment, that was a period of a month where I'd been made redundant and the accounts manager resigned. If that accounts manager hadn't resigned, who knows? Yeah.
So when you say accounts assistant, that's the finance team?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so solicitors look after, obviously, the business's money, but also the solicitors in the firm look after client money, which is typically, if I look at us now, that's probably 3,000 clients all have money with us in one form or another. And that's generally pulled into one account, which is called a client account. But you have to have a separate ledger for each of those clients. Now, technology wasn't what it is today then. There was quite a lot of manual records as well. Bookkeeping effectively, yeah. Yeah. And so that's really where my journey in law firms started, because I didn't leave that law firm until 2018 in the end. So I was there 22 years. Wow.
So what I'm intrigued about this client account. What's that used for? Like purchasing of houses and all that kind of thing, or is it other stuff?
Yeah, or settlement monies. Maybe maybe there's a dispute between two people. We will hold the settlement money whilst it's effectively like a bank account. Yeah. We hold it on trust for the clients.
Right. Okay. So you moved into the accounts assistant role. Still no formal qualification in any kind of finance.
No.
Because at this point, you'd only done, what, A-levels?
A-levels, yeah.
What did you do?
And I dropped A-level maths because it was too difficult. I did business studies, economics, sociology, and computer studies. Okay. The only reason I did sociology was because I dropped maths. because it was way too hard.
Yeah. It's a popular one, that sociology, isn't it?
It's a good timetable filler.
Yeah.
My son's just actually done sociology. He's just finished his A-levels this month.
Yeah, as is my daughter, yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So still no formal qualifications in finance. Got into the accounts assistant role. What's next? How long were you in that?
I did do a bookkeeping course under the ILCA, which is the Institute of Legal Cashiers, which gave me a qualification in solicitor's bookkeeping, effectively. Mm-hmm. It's still around today. It's not called that anymore, but there's still the same qualification around. And really, it just became, I suppose I got myself more and more involved. And I'm a learner, you know. I know there's this well-coined phrase, every day is a school day, but I do think I learn something pretty much every day, whether it be a new word or a new meaning to something, or, you know, perhaps just chatting to you, you know, not on camera, but I'll learn things about your business that I'm quite analytical in that way, I suppose. So I just learn things about it, how things operate in reality, because there's a lot of things go on behind the scenes that people don't perhaps see or care about. But I suppose I just went into it full-hearted and yeah. Okay.
So was the finance journey within the legal practice where most of your career has gone?
So if I look at any business institution that's maybe, say, got more than a dozen employees, the finance people tend to sit near the top somehow. I think we probably think we know everything, and therefore the board can't do anything without us having an input. And probably globally, you know, in big organisations, it is the finance people that sit near the top.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it progressed, I suppose. I got more and more involved, ended up attending partners meetings eventually, and just getting involved in more of the running of the business and directing the business in a way that I felt it needed to go. And then I became finance manager later on. And then I was approached by DFA in 2017 to become the practice manager at DFA. Now, because I've been at Turner Coulston 22 years, it wasn't an easy, you know, it wasn't an easy decision, and there was opportunities to stay involved and get involved at a higher level at Turner Coulston. But perhaps it was another one of those sliding door moments. I wasn't looking to move. I wasn't, you know, on the lookout. Dare I say, headhunted. Flattery gets you everywhere with me. So that was that.
Right. So what I'm interested in on this topic is, you know, in your experience now within the legal practice and the legal framework and how you're seeing other businesses run, do you think your journey could be replicated by someone else these days?
Absolutely. I think it can be done by anyone. I don't look at myself as being any different to any person. Look, we have a lot of issues in this country. I'm sure we're not going to get into politics and things like that, but I do believe it is a land of opportunity.
And in the UK?
Yeah. And if you apply yourself and work hard, I don't think there is a ceiling to anybody or anything. It's difficult. I'm not saying, you know, it's easy. And I've definitely had some fortunate moments, and I've just touched on a couple already. But I think I would say about myself, I would have done something anyway, because even through adversity, I've managed to do it. So I do think anybody can do it. I think, you know, if I look at people who start a business with very little financial backing, very little support, they for me are the true entrepreneurs. They have an idea and they think, right, I can do this. You know, yes, I've had a decent professional career. I haven't started anything though. I might have changed things and I might have developed things and hopefully made things better, but I didn't start it. I don't think, but genuinely going back to what you said, I don't think there is a limit to what anybody can achieve. No,
I think when I think about the reason that the podcast is created, right, is to help the talent market. I'm just thinking about, Joe sat at home. He knows he wants to go into some kind of legal work, but doesn't necessarily have the academia to be able to get into law itself.
Yeah.
Your story is a real eye-opener for people that are thinking that door is closed off for them because they haven't got the law degree or they haven't got the practice in terms of them doing the bar or whatever it might be. You've shown that going from an office junior role and building your way up and doing the reps, right? Because it's like anything, you got to do the reps, you got to put the work in. I think what we're seeing now is, and it might be because you get given opportunity at £5,000 rather than starting wage of 26.
Yeah,
is that people coming out of school or people coming out of college or people coming out of uni certainly aren't necessarily always prepared to put the grunt in that I think is needed to take your journey on. You've got to have a very determined mindset in order to build your way up to being a managing partner within a well-established, well-regarded legal practice with no law experience, right? This is kind of what I'm getting at.
You can't become a solicitor without a law degree.
No.
That's not me saying that.
That's fact.
That is fact. But that doesn't mean you can't be whatever you want to be.
Yeah.
Aside from, if you have to have a formal qualification, fine, you have to go down that route. But if you haven't got the academic background to support a law degree or maybe even funding to do that, I genuinely don't think it should prevent you from being the best version of you.
I agree.
And that's really what I tried to do. Look, the differences in people, from backgrounds to education to even genetics. There's definitely genetics involved in the way people function, and that's never going to be the same. But can everybody push themselves to be the best version of them? Absolutely. And that's 100% what I try to encourage, is for everybody within DFA to be the best version they can be of them.
Yeah.
Now, some people want to be a leader. Fine, we'll push people down that path where we can. Some people want to have no interest in being a leader and just want to be happy, successful in their own right. Fine. But I genuinely try to help everybody be the very best version they can be.
Yeah.
Whatever that might, it doesn't matter if that's we don't have office juniors anymore, but if it was an office junior, fine, go and be the best office junior you can be. Because I think happiness comes from being the best you can be.
What's replaced an office junior now then?
Probably a fancy title of administration assistant, I suppose. But some of the roles that an office junior was expected to do, like go and get a sausage roll for someone, like take someone's dry cleaning, it wouldn't wash today.
No.
And things change. Like, it was very cheap labour.
Yeah.
Because whilst they were paying me, I did work it out once, I think it's £3.30 an hour. They were charging themselves out at £200 an hour. So it was cheap labour. That isn't there today. And also, we tried to utilise everyone's skills, not just to help run the business, but to also help clients and function that way. So I think the way the world has changed, certainly the legal world that I see it, is that there's more effort in realising value from everything as opposed to having cheap labour that will do things you perhaps don't want to do yourself.
I do. I wonder though, is because business was very different back in the late 90s, early 2000s. When I cast my mind back to when I started in recruitment in 2003, the first job I had was a local business, and they had 9 offices. They were all kind of very similar. We used to smoke at our desks. If you remember those times, you could. There'd always be after work drinks.
Yeah.
The social part of work was just as important as the bit in work.
Yeah.
And you did have, that hierarchical element to it, where the people billing the money were not expected to do the jobs that were considered not beneath them by any stretch.
Well, I think that perhaps was the consideration.
Yeah, but I think is it
certainly
more,
in professional services? I think that definitely was a thing.
Yeah, but is it more about using the, if you're talking about billing hours, if you've got 8 billing hours a day, you want to be maximising those billing hours. Not those top billers should be delegating the task of making tea, so they're getting more out of their 8 hours. Do you think we've lost that as a culture? Whether, because we're worried about upsetting somebody, oh God, could you just run and put the kettle on for me? When actually,
potentially, yeah, but I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing either. I'm yes, my title and role or position is managing partner.
Yeah, I
don't think I've ever asked anyone to do anything whilst I've been that role that I'm not prepared to do myself.
Of course, there is, I get what you mean.
So I think some of that has changed. But I also think that the way I look to operate DFA, I don't want everyone functioning at 100% all the time. It's not sustainable. It's not healthy.
Yeah.
So actually, to get away from your desk, go make your own tea, make your own water, is actually a good thing to do.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you.
I'm sure some law firms still operate in the way that you've just referenced.
Well, I know, again, I'm referring, without naming names, businesses I've worked for, there was very much that the office administrator was the one that did all of those jobs. Yeah. And if the MD at the time happened to be in your office and he saw you as a managing role making the tea, you would get into some trouble doing that because that's not your job.
No.
Whereas I know that, me and a couple of other people, I remember quite clearly would go, look, I'm quite capable of making tea and I want to make tea for my team and I'm not going to just be demanding cups of tea on someone.
Yeah.
Just because it makes them feel better about life. But I guess we're kind of digressing a little bit. But what I'm just wondering is, I don't see many people coming out of education now that are prepared to do that, starting at the bottom and working their way up and really putting in the hours.
Yeah, I think certainly I deal with the recruitment at DFA. I think there's a lot of expectation from the generation that are starting out. I don't know where that's come from. I can't give you some, brilliant answer as to why, but I think you're right. You need to be prepared to do it. And a degree in maths or a degree in history, geography doesn't determine that you should get £40,000 as a starting salary. It's exceptionally difficult for students to know what they want to do. I'm going through it with my eldest son now. He really has next to no idea about what he wants to do. But I do think, you have to take a gamble as a candidate and say, do you know what? I want to try that. And not expect too much. It might not work, and I know it's not easy to secure jobs. I think if people take a chance on themselves and be prepared to learn, life is about, I've said it briefly before, life is about learning. Just because you've got a degree or you've got a qualification doesn't mean that you've made it at all. No. You've got to be prepared to go and take a lesser role. We see it a lot in law. People, people who've got their law degree, got good exam results, they'll take what we call a paralegal role or assistant role purely to get their foot in the door. Mm-hmm. It's a good way of doing it within law. But every professional service that has a billable hour model needs a back office. So, take a punt and go and say, right, I'll do some back office stuff.
Yeah. And learn.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because things change, things in business evolve all the time. I'm sure you've been in business a long while now. I'm sure you see it yourself. Not one year is any way the same as the next year. Or, if you take a sort of 5 to 10 year cycle, things evolve and change a hell of a lot. But if you can take a punt on yourself, not value yourself too highly. I genuinely think there is a chance for everybody now.
Yeah. Just picking up on talent in the legal sector now, because competition's high. I'm not sure if it's a lack of opportunity or just that people are seeking like how do I phrase it? Are they looking for kind of first degree? 2 1s and 2 2s might not be as sought after, and they want red brick universities, not general universities. And, you know, are the big boys in your space kind of swooping up a really strong grad program and nurturing talent that way and hooking them in with big salaries that means you guys as SMEs can't? Or how's it working at the minute?
I have heard of law firms that will only employ people from a Russell Group university or first degree. Doing the recruitment at DFA, I can assure you, I have never once looked at the university they attended.
Right.
I say to people now, a CV matters because it is the first showing of you. Mm-hmm. So it's important to get it, you know. But I don't care if someone went to Cambridge or went to Northampton University. I use this analogy a fair bit within the office. When people go to a law firm, they expect people to know the law. I think that's a fair assumption. What they don't perhaps expect is really good service or really good client care or really good, let's say, empathy. A lot of our business is around empathy. I do the same with CVs, I think. Mm-hmm. If they've got their degree, fine. I don't care where they got it. I don't particularly care whether it's a first or a 2-1. I like to give people opportunities. I like to try and, you know, with the business we try to nurture local talent because the big city firms, they do have graduate programs. They do have, you know, their pay structure. I think there's some city firms now paying an NQ, newly qualified, 200 grand a year. That is because they're charging.
So someone straight out of uni could walk into a 200 grand a year job.
Well, once they're qualified, so an NQ, so they have to then obviously.
So do the year.
Yeah, well, there's the thing you'll
practicing.
The solicitors qualifying exam now, the SQE. Yeah. Once they've passed that, there's a job offer 200 grand a year.
Well, now, they'll employ them in that period while they'll.
Yeah, they'll probably be on 60, 70 grand in the meantime.
Which is still massive money.
Yeah.
From straight out of uni.
But it's not a job that we would ever offer anyone. Forget the numerical side for a moment. What they want out of that is probably 100 hours a week.
Right.
They probably want you to be on your
paralegal work kind of thing.
They want you to be on your phone at all times. You know, when I was sort of getting into law, Ally McBeal was the law show of choice. Or was it LA Law? I might be a bit old, and I think maybe Suits is a more recent one.
Cool,
Law isn't like that, really.
Suits isn't real life either, though, is it?
I've never watched Suits. I'm too old. But like, obviously it's a TV show and they're glamorised a bit, but there's a lot of hard graft has to go in to get that money. But what we're trying to do is nurture the local talent, give people opportunities. You know, I quite like it when people just take a chance and say, right, you know, I'm just going to pop in one day, or and we've employed a few people in that way. Yeah. So are we struggling to recruit? I would probably say no. I would say it's potentially the expectation on the other side is what.
As in the candidate's expectations?
Yeah, more so than struggling to recruit.
Right, okay.
You know, I know you've set up a professional services arm, and I don't know if you've experienced this, but what people think they are worth against what the market is prepared to pay are two totally different things.
We see that day in, day out on all areas, not just in the professional services.
And I think within professional services, you know, I think we have a job as employers to help people grow and learn. And so, yes, we might employ someone. Do we expect them to start making us money from day one? Absolutely not. In these big city firms, you're expected to start making money immediately. Right. So there has to be a bit of give and take, if you like. But fine, an NQ role in Northamptonshire might be somewhere between 40 and 50 grand. You might read a headline in the Law Gazette that says free It's not free. One of the Magic Circle firm are now paying 200 grand a year.
Yeah.
But they're not apples and apples.
Okay.
The role, typically with the roles we try to offer, they are a 36.5-hour week.
Yeah.
Expected to go home at the time you're supposed to go home.
Right.
That's kind of the culture I've tried to instill. I don't want cheap labour. I don't want anyone to feel undervalued in any way. Things do have a price. But I genuinely, and you say about the 8-hour billable day, we ask people to do half of that.
Okay.
Because I don't want people working flat out 100% of the time. It doesn't work. It works short term.
So is that, and again, in itself, uncommon then, given what you've just said about some of the more bigger corporates that they expect?
I don't know. I don't know too. I'd say we were on the less expectant side. I don't know. Obviously, when we interview candidates and we sort of talk about these things, they say that I might find out where their current employer, what they might expect, and things like that.
Yeah.
But we all have busy lives. You cannot operate at 100% of the time.
No.
Something breaks or gives up at some point. So in work, I really want people to be the best they can be, but with a reasonable framework of what we can expect.
Okay. I think that sounds really good. And how have you managed, because you've been on an acquisition trail, right? And there's been a couple of purchases, am I right in thinking, in recent years. How have you then blended those cultures together?
Well, the most recent one we didn't have to worry about blending a culture. We just took the business. We didn't take the people as well.
Okay.
There's one that we're working on at the moment, which will be people as well. The culture at DFA is hugely important to me. 50 odd people, you're not all going to be best friends, but can you all have respect and work together? That's a fair thing to expect. And the same goes for individual candidates. If I don't think they're going to fit in, then, they might make money. If they're not going to fit in, there's probably no point, because it'll be a short-term solution. So, we have to grow. Standing still is retraction, effectively. We can grow by winning new clients. We can grow by recommendations, referrals, those kind of things. You can also grow by acquisition, which has been a well-trodden path by many law firms. It's not, we're not unique in that. But again, the culture has to fit, and we need to feel, I suppose I need to feel that I can see those people staying as much as you can sort of forecast.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So moving on to a bit more of the, because I read that you have become a mental health first aider, which is quite a bold move, considering that the sector you're in isn't that well known for openly discussing.
Yeah.
Was there a catalyst for that?
2020 was the catalyst.
Yeah.
Because what we had to do to alter the way the business was sort of functioned and operated, we had a number of people that live alone.
So you're talking about COVID, right? Are you? Or?
COVID? What's COVID?
Yeah.
I'll just say 2020.
Terrible
word.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if we look back, I'm pretty sure we would never do the same things again. But what we did at the time, what we were sort of tasked to do, we all did. I noticed that a lot of people used work as their social life. Not in an extreme way, in a bad way. It just highlighted to me that actually people do need colleagues and they need friends within work. And from speaking, I'm quite a sociable person, I suppose. From speaking to various people over various industries, various things, I learned more about, I wouldn't say I know everything about mental health. I don't mean that. I learned more about what perhaps makes people tick than I perhaps gave much thought to before. And actually, David Williams, financial advisors, were putting on they were getting someone in to do the mental health first aid course. And they contacted me and said, is there anyone within your organisation that want to do it? And I thought, well, who better than me? because I want it to be a thing, for people to feel supported. It was probably aimed at just DFA. It wasn't aimed at anything else. I just wanted, I suppose I want to feel approachable as well. I suppose that was part of it.
As a leader?
Yeah.
But then I'm not wrong in thinking, though, that the sector in itself has typically got a reputation for being a bit more stuffy and stiff upper lip and less open to that stuff, right? So
yeah, look, there's a lot of egos in solicitors. It's professional services, not just solicitors. So I think the outside world probably do look at it like that. I would like to think that we treat a client who's coming in to do a very basic codicil, for example, which is probably the simplest thing we would do, to someone who's selling a multi-million-pound business. I would genuinely like to think they get exactly the same treatment and service.
right.
So we try to break those things down. But I think from the outside world, yes. I thought it was a strong thing to do as managing partner of a law firm to show that we care, because we do care. And like things like LinkedIn, you'd think that some of these law firms around the county and wider reaches, they are the best people in the world to work for. Yet you speak to people who work there and it isn't like that at all. It's a bit of a facade. I could be tripping myself up here, and people who work at DFA are like, it's not quite like that. But me as a person, forget my role, me as a person, I want to support people and want people to be as content as they can be.
Okay. That sounds good. And where are we at with AI?
Well, DFA and me are miles behind.
But are you worried about the space?
Yes, slightly. There's more intrigue than worry.
Yeah.
It is a thing. It is coming. Well, it's already here. But what we're seeing at the moment is a lot of errors within AI, certainly in the generative stuff.
Where the answers are coming back wrong?
Yeah, in particular, yeah, that's a good example.
But do you not feel that... So we get it here as well. People will go on AI, they'll put what they think is the question. They're not phrasing the question always in the right way, so therefore they're getting a distorted response.
Yeah.
But is it the same in your space, where if they'd have asked it slightly differently, it would have got a different answer? Because
absolutely. I mean, look, I've worked in law a long, long time, and I remember saying to my old boss in my early days, surely law is law. So how do you think you're so right? Because the law is law. For some areas of law, they're arguing over the same point of law. One's trying to say it's this, and the other one's trying to say it's that. AI will struggle to do that for quite a while, in my mind. It will be able to read the law, but will it be able to put a context of what client A is trying to achieve against client B? And that's, some of the stuff it can do is pretty impressive, certainly from a data gathering and that kind of thing. And you and I spoke when we bumped into each other recently about how you've been using it in certain ways. And it made me, I actually went away and did a similar thing, and it was quite useful. But in law, for as far as I can foresee, you'll always need the human to check it, at least. Our regulatory body will expect us to check it. We can't just send something out uncensored. So it will affect some of the functions. I don't see it impacting. We should timestamp this and say Danny Roberts said it wasn't going to affect DFA, and then 3 months later we've closed because AI's taken over. We have to adapt to it, evolve with it, embrace it. But
I think if anything, when I think about what we're doing with it, if anything, it's creating more capacity for the team.
Yeah.
And removing those what are considered labour-intensive roles within their day-to-day tasks. So lots of administrative tasks can be stripped away. Let AI take some of that heavy lifting off them, leaving them to be more productive in the time they've got. So, for example, if you want 4 of 8 hours billing time. Mm-hmm. If your guys start spending more time at the office, but not on billing work because they're trying to catch on so much admin, research, land registry documents, whatever it might be, looking through legal jargon. When actually you could just type a prompt and it just brings it up for you.
Yeah.
I guess it's a big time-saving capacity.
Yeah, that's where it will become useful to us.
Yeah.
It'll be more in the side people don't see as opposed to what goes out to the client, if that makes sense. People need to be careful when using AI. If they're using open source, not within our practice, but we might send a letter of advice to a client and say, right, this is what you should do. And then what you get with a solicitor is what's called legal professional privilege. So that means that things that the client and the solicitor talk about are protected. Nobody's entitled to see them, even under a subject access request or a data request. You're not entitled to see it. It's got legal protection privilege. If you copy and paste that letter of advice into an open AI source, there's a fair chance you will lose that legal privilege. Which I don't want to get too complex, but that's quite a big thing. But we're seeing it already. We're seeing people take our letter of advice and put it in AI and say, well, ChatGPT said to do this. Well, that's fine, but ChatGPT's wrong because this is actually the steps that whatever it might be. So from that side, it's quite risky, but certainly from the back side, we can use it to record attendance notes and give it a manuscript of the attendance note within seconds.
You've got a summary.
Whereas that might take a person 20, 30, 40 minutes to do. So those things, brilliant. From terms of the legal advice, I think it's still a long way off. And a big expense for us as a law firm is our research library, our legal library and things like that. For me, those businesses will have to invest more into AI before DFA do, because otherwise people won't subscribe to those. So I'm not trying to be a pioneer in it. I've got no shame in admitting that we're not all that up on it. Are we maximising it today? No. Will we? Probably no, because I don't think we'll be that.
I think it's going to have a bit of a twist on it, though, in time.
Yeah.
For now, it's still a novelty. It's developing so quickly that a new version of Claude, for argument's sake, is coming out every week, sometimes multiple times. What I think in professional services sector, which I include us in as well, is that I could pick up the phone to you and say, I've got this problem. I need some help or guidance. And I'm ringing you because I trust Danny. Yeah. Relationships in that capacity can never be replaced by AI. And that's the same in our space. If a candidate has been, 2 or 3 times through the door, we've placed them in a good job. The same for customers. If they know that they're ringing us and they're getting good people, they're going to remain loyal with us.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily going to be reaching out to someone else. And it's all about service. Yeah, we might therefore then be able to service more or research deeper by using AI. But I can't see how, certainly within the SME space, which is you work in as well, right? I don't think it can ever be replacing the relationships and trust that people have with our service. No,
I agree. And from where we're having to give advice, it has to be checked by a human. So, there's some challenges to AI, but I think if I look at where we were, when I first started out in law 30 years ago, did I think that emails would be as, widely used? There were emails, don't get me wrong, but it was a dial-up connection and, it was a bit of a faff. Now emails are delivered instantly. A phone call is just as instant. Did you get my email? Yes. Yeah, we did. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I didn't think that would happen. I didn't expect mobile phones to be, I'm definitely not a visionary. We've just established that. But I remember being at school doing A-level economics and my tutor said to me that cash would be gone by the mid-2000s. So 2005-ish, 10 years away. And I remember about that time they tried to end use of checkbooks.
Yeah.
That's not happened. Will it happen? Probably. But, these things that frighten you, I suppose, when they first land, you either evolve or you sink, I suppose. But I don't think they're ever as dangerous as what you perhaps fear.
Look, I use... I can't remember, actually, the last time I had physical money in my pocket.
No, that's not surprising.
No, I don't, because I use my phone.
I meant just for you.
I mean, that's
I've heard that excuse more than once.
Yeah. Sorry, guys, I ain't got any cash from me. That's not true.
So there's an article in the press this week about Barclaycard. Mm-hmm. It's 60 years old this year. They were the first credit card user. I think the stat was 58% of people leave home without a physical card now.
Yeah,
on a phone. And I haven't actually withdrawn cash out of a bank in the UK since before 2020.
Really?
I've withdrawn, yeah. It's just, I know it because I looked at my...
Well, there's the
I knew I hadn't done it for a while, so then I looked because I've got
there's the odd person that won't accept card. Like my barbers won't accept cards, so I have to get cash out. So I'm having to get cash out. Probably I get 20 quid out once a month when I go and get my hair cut. And that is the only time I use the cash point. Yeah. But like the same flip side though, it catches me out sometimes because cabs don't always take cards. Or I know you can book it through Uber now and Bolt and whoever else are out there. But when I think about what you was just talking about, email, when I first started in recruitment, there was one PC that we all had to share. Yeah. And it was a group shared inbox. So it would be like Northampton app. Yeah. And then when I think about now, I use AI that often. I can't remember what it was like before it. Yeah. Having to Google stuff doesn't really happen that much now. It's more about asking this question, asking it to do this, getting this prompt right. Yeah. Getting the information back, Yeah, and you're right about the prompts. The question that you ask is the most important thing. Yeah. And I think Google, if we use that, other search engines are available. That has become very educated over the last 10, 15 years in actually providing the answer what it thinks you want. Yeah. I think that's what AI does today. It gives you the answer, what it thinks you want, but that comes down to what you put as a prompt and a question. And I think, it will become the thing, won't it? Yeah, 100%. The broader picture of AI, I think, is quite frightening because it's machine learning. So machine learning typically corrects you can ask the same two questions within 5 minutes. It will give you two different answers because it's trying to find its own correct answer. That's quite dangerous, I think. And let's hope that, world domination isn't behind. I don't want us to start all sounding, suspicious, but there is a risk that these things are actually going to prove to be more dangerous in time in terms of how control is done. And it's already started at points. Like the latest version of Claude has been turned off here in the UK because it was just, it was doing so many code breaking bits. I'm not that techie when it comes to this stuff.
Well, there was a case fairly recently where it deleted everything off a database because it thought it had found something, just deleted it. It wasn't able to be recovered. No. So I think it was a recruitment business lost their whole database through this AI service. Wow. Now that's where you need a lawyer. Yeah. For negligence, but.
So what would that? What would that be? Like data breach, or what would it?
Potentially. I mean, it's probably the opposite to data breach, isn't it? Because it's deletion of data as opposed to breaching of sharing data. But it's going to be a fully evolving thing. That people will use it in such different ways. If I look at it from a law side, there's an opportunity for us because you will use it in one way, whereas someone else will use it in another way. So our advice to you would be tailored around your use of it as opposed to how let's say hairdressers might use it, or
Yeah.
the
Okay.
barbers who only take the cash.
All right, so a couple more questions for you. Obviously, we've talked about how you typically work with owner-managed family businesses, SMEs, in and around the area. What are the legal mistakes you're constantly seeing business owners make? The stuff that keeps you up at night, perhaps, that you wish, it might be simple stuff, it might not be. Is there anything that stands out? Story?
I think if I look at it from a M&A side, so mergers and acquisition side, we do a fair amount of sales on family owner managed businesses. It's not having the right framework in place to be able to get that deal across potentially as quickly as you like, but more importantly for the value you want, because your framework isn't correct.
And when you talk about framework, what do you mean by that?
Documentation, policies, procedures, because under the, most M&As will undergo a pretty rigorous due diligence program, and that's when all the mistakes are found. But by that point, the owner has decided they want to sell. They may have to sell. There may be health, there may be financial, whatever the reason. So not having those things correct in the first place can cause many, many headaches.
Right.
But in terms of policies, you might want a good SLA, or you might want a good terms and conditions being done. Perhaps even from a dispute side, if you've got shareholders or owners of the business, get a shareholders agreement. Everything's great whilst everything's going well. It's when you come to any sort of contention, whatever they might be, those legal documents and that grounding will save you massive headaches. Okay.
So is there one piece of advice that you would give a business owner now or senior leadership team, for argument's sake, that they need to understand in that situation? Or, like we're going through ISO, for example.
Yeah.
Is that, adopting like procedures is like
well,
that?
ISO typically will help you do that, won't it?
And creates a framework.
Yeah. I think what I would say is surround yourself with good people. And I don't mean within an organisation. Get
good
professional services that you trust. I fully agree with what you said about relationship being more important than AI. Get a relationship with someone. If you can get a recommendation, meet the person, meet the team, get that support. And it's if I look at startups, we work with many startups, and they say, "Oh, we want a shareholders agreement," and then you tell them how much a shareholders agreement is. Oh, I don't need that, because it sounds like a lot of money at day one.
Yeah.
But actually, by day 365, let's say the first anniversary, that could be the most valuable piece of.
Yeah.
So, get the people around you that you can trust and rely on, and get the right advice for various bits of business journey, I suppose.
Yeah.
That would be my. I lean on people. Probably not intention. It's not like I must lean on that person, but I've got a good support network in various. And I think I said earlier, I'm quite analytical. I'll listen to what people say and learn from that, and that's how. So I think if you can get yourself a good support network, that will stand you in good stead at all times.
Okay. And then on the flip side, somebody looking, maybe just come out of uni or a couple of years in to their legal career, any tips or hints or advice that you would want to give the candidate market?
I would say be open to opportunities. The law is very competitive. In Northamptonshire alone, it's hugely competitive. When I was joining DFA, I had to do a presentation to the owners, and I chose to do it on how many law firms are in Northamptonshire, the competition. There was something like 55 law firms in Northamptonshire, serving a population of around 350,000. That's way too many law firms, by head count. But what we do have in Northamptonshire is some national law firms. And those national law firms carry a branding and a kudos, if you like.
Yeah.
And some people I think, I can't say I know, will only want to work for a certain company or a certain law practice. I would say don't be so blind to that. Be humble, be willing to learn, because yes, you've got your law degree, or yes, you've just qualified as a lawyer. Doesn't mean you know everything. Be open to opportunities. And I go back to what I said earlier. If you work hard, I genuinely think you can make success, whatever success level that may be. That doesn't have to be measured in material things. I think success is more important, that you go to work, you can enjoy it as much as you can, and then you get time to live. That's, I think some people have these ideas of, well, I'm a lawyer, I need to be earning 60 grand in my first year. I need to be doing this kind of work with this type of client. In DFA's life, that is not reality. I like the mix of work we do, the mix of clients we do. I like the mix of people we have. But if you go into something thinking, well, this is what I want, and, look, some people are going to be like that. This is what I want. This is how I'm going to do it. That's a slightly different question. But I think if you want to get into law, but you don't quite know, just be open and be willing to. I'm not saying people aren't, but if someone says to me, what should I look at? That, 20 years ago, I would have said to someone in Northamptonshire, go and work for Nationwide.
Yeah.
There's plenty of opportunities for people. It's a big business. See where things land and take a path from there. It's not as easy as that now.
No. I think that's it. We've kind of circled back to the beginning there with that, and I think that's a nice way to kind of finish that off. So
good. I can relax now then.
You can. No, really appreciate you coming in.
No, my
Danny.
pleasure. My pleasure.
I'm really delighted to have chatted to you today, and good luck with the acquisition and everything else that's going on at DFA.
And to you. Thanks, Chris.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.